The following program was produced by Cinema Milkshake.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Kill Me or Thrill Me. This is the podcast where I let various people recommend any movie they want to me, as long as I've never seen it and they're willing to come on the show and talk about it. And along the way, we learn a little bit about each other through our mutual love of film, and ultimately find out, did the movie kill me or thrill me? But we're not going to do that on this episode because this is kind of special, and we'll get into that later. My guest today is someone I've known for quite a while. He is a musician, and you just heard some of his music, in fact, coming into the show. It's a excerpt from a track called Termination Shock. I think it's pretty dope, and I wanted to play it so you all could hear it. But we'll also get into that a little more later. The one thing I want to say to this gentleman to welcome him to the show, his name is Trav, and I want to say long days and pleasant nights to you, sir.
And may you have twice the number.
Yeah! This is us old school Dark Tower fans. So,
absolutely.
So just wanted to throw it out there. Well, Trav, I've actually been, had planned for a while to ask you to do this show. I have a very long list of people, and I just wanted to make sure all this worked before I started asking everybody. But you came to me through somewhat circuitous, however you pronounce that, ways. But before we get to that, why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself to the listeners and tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Sure. Well, like you said, I'm Travis. I have, had a varied life. I've been around the world. And, I was born in West Michigan, Grand Rapids, and then, I went out on my adventures and came back, and now I'm using what I've earned to get a degree in English and education. And on the side, I'm finally, getting around and doing my dream project, which is the music thing. But at the same time, I'm a lover of stories and storytelling, and film is sort of been the main medium all our lives for storytelling. And I go on tangents where I'm like, oh, I'm going to check out this genre or this filmmaker. And so I'm just fascinated by all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty much that's about who I am.
Yeah, Termination Shock, I mentioned, it was the name of that album, correct me, or what is that? I forgot the name of that one. Sputnik something, right?
Yes, the Sputnik Chronicles. So I have a hilarious story about that too.
Okay. Do tell.
In 1994, I was sitting in 10th grade biology class at Union High School, not paying attention.
Of course.
But the idea came to me that there should be a punk rock opera that's 10 songs, and the 10 songs are all 2 minutes long, and they should all be called the Sputnik Chronicles, and then as a joke to Roger Waters, parts 1 through 10.
Right.
And I got the idea of that just because it would be hilarious. Like it's a joke on Pete Townsend, and it's a joke on Roger Waters.
Yeah.
Right. And then I suggested that to Nick Stauffer, who sometimes plays bass and everything, and he thought it was hilarious. I was like, it can be like the Ramones,
Yeah.
Like they can all be like 220 beats per minute each song, but they're only 2 minutes. They're all exactly 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just 10 songs. And it'd be a concept album, a punk rock opera, right? and it sort of went by the wayside. But the main riff that is in Termination Shock, that descending riff from D to A, I wrote in '94.
Oh wow!
The second song that's on there, Zilch Affection,
Mm-hmm.
I wrote that in '94.
Oh wow! Okay.
And so there's some, so between 1994 and 2023, there's like all these ideas swirling together in there. And then, you know, I got to give a shout out to Matt at Amberlit Studios in Grand Rapids, who, like, I walked in and I was like, I got this concept album. I want to make this thing like Pink Floyd. And he's like, I've never done that before. I'm like, all the songs are going to go together. He's like, okay,
yeah,
let's do it. And then our other mutual friend, Alicia Archer, was in town. And I was like, you want to play keyboards on these things? And so the two songs that have keyboards on it, that's her playing.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know her.
So, like, she was here for a week or whatever, and I just pulled her in for 2 days, and I was like, let's do this.
Yeah. No, it's great. I was actually listening to it, like, a lot today, because just getting in the mood to talk to you, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I want to play some of his music on the show. And so I was sitting there hunting through all the tracks and like, no, 30 seconds of this one would be 40. And then I just settled on Termination Shock, and I messaged you and you're like, hell yeah, let's do it. So, we're going to play some more later at the end of the show. But you know, before we get to that, we're going to talk about this movie you brought me, which is a 2008 war film from German filmmaker Uwe Boll, and it's called Darfur, or in some cases it's called Attack on Darfur. Darfur is what we're going to call it through the rest of the show. But before we get to that, Trav, we like to play a little game here called Break the Ice, and this is our chance to, you know, see what each other are made of. Or in this case, I'm going to see what you're made of, because I don't have to answer these questions. You do. You get three would you rather questions. And
okay,
in honor of the film you brought me that might just be the most fucked up, dark thing I've had to review on this podcast yet, two of these questions are going to get dark on you. But the first one is just kind of silly and gross. So we need a little bit of levity before we get into this subject matter. Just go with this. It's absolutely absurd, but
sure.
I'm going to paint a picture for you. You lost both of your arms in some sort of accident. And one day you happen to be standing in a tiny, tiny boat sailing down a river of vomit. This boat is so tiny, any sudden movement will make it capsize. And then you see a man on the shore shit into his hands and throw it at you. Would you rather take his shit snowball to the face or dodge it by diving into the vomit river? This is a fun one.
Yeah. I would probably dive into the vomit river.
Really?
And just keep my eyes closed. Yep.
Yeah, and your mouth.
Like, I've been in some places around the world that just stink to high heaven of shit. Like, the minute you walk out of the airplane, you're like, oh, this country does not have indoor plumbing anywhere. Right? And like, I would rather, like, just have to take a shower.
This is true.
And get vomit off me.
Yeah.
Than have to tolerate, like, that.
Shit in your mouth, because you probably would have been, you had your mouth open, ready to yell, and it just, yeah. That was inspired by the fact that
absolutely.
For Pride Month, I watched a slew of Jackass. And because as John Waters said, Jackass is gay porn for straight men. And he could not be more correct about that. And it's great. And I had to throw you something like that. in honor of the
Oh no.
the jackasses. All right, now let's get dark.
Okay.
Would you rather know the exact day you will die or the exact way you will die?
I would rather know the exact day.
Really? But just not how.
How is immaterial? Let's get this fucking thing over with.
No, you're right. I agree with you on that. I'm not required to answer, but I would agree with you. I would rather just be like, okay, it's that day. All right, whatever. You know, just like,
Yep.
yeah, because you're right. What does it matter? It's you know, I mean, obviously there are probably less painful ways to go, but at the end of the day, who cares? You're gone. So nihilism, folks. Yes. All right. Here's your last one. Would you rather make one decision that saves millions of lives but destroys your own family, or save your family and let the millions die?
Well, I've been in smaller scale situations. I would save the people.
Okay, that is very noble.
Like,
And that question was inspired by the film.
yeah. Like, I feel like because of the smaller scale decisions and choices that I've had to make, I can carry that burden.
Okay, that's awesome.
So I would save the people.
Okay, I respect that, actually, and I honestly don't know what I would do. I mean, there are a couple family members I wouldn't really care, but I'm kidding. If any of my family's listening, I'm kidding. I love you all. Just stop voting for Trump. All right. So
Yeah, I'm so glad I'm not caught up in that life anymore.
you and me both. Jesus. So Trav, what happened was this is a couple weeks ago, I believe, on Facebook, I decided to go fishing for my podcast because I had done a series of episodes, in fact, pretty much every episode of my show, where I ended up just really, really liking the movies. And I thought, holy crap, I need to mix things up a little bit. I got to get some trash on this show. I need somebody to straight up torture me. So I listed a bunch of movies and used a very, very sarcastic tone saying, oh gosh, please don't anybody try to come on my show and recommend these movies to me. And on that list, I wrote down anything involving Uwe Boll and vampires. And I had two people, you and another gentleman, who picked the Uwe Boll part of it, but not the vampires. And you made a comment about how Uwe Boll is perhaps a misunderstood postmodernist master filmmaker, which we will get into that, my friend. And you suggested that you could prove it and you wanted to discuss it. And as we were talking off camera, so to speak, you didn't think I would take you seriously.
No. So I've been doing this Uwe Boll postmodern maestro filmmaker, pinnacle of postmodern filmmaking. I've been doing this joke for, I don't know, a decade, maybe 15 years.
Okay.
No one takes me seriously when I do it, and I did not expect you to take me seriously.
Well,
I do have like the thoughts to back it up, though.
Okay. Yeah, and you're going to.
Because like I wouldn't make a joke like that if I couldn't support it.
That's why I took you up on this offer, because I know you're a man of your word and you're going to come at me with some actual documentation and whatnot. So you're going to get to that. But let's tell everybody
Sure.
a little bit about this movie and its cast and crew in case they don't know. Darfur, I was wrong. It's a 2009 war drama written and directed by Uwe Boll. And unlike the video game adaptations that made Boll famous and or infamous, this film is a serious dramatization of the genocide in the Darfur region of Sudan. And it premiered under the title Janjaweed before being released internationally as Darfur or Attack on Darfur. Just a little bit of a little bit of a plot summary to let everybody know what this is about. It follows 6 Western journalists embedded in a remote Darfur village under the protection of African Union peacekeepers. And when intelligence arrives that the Janjaweed militia are approaching, the journalists face an impossible decision. Do they evacuate while they still can and expose the atrocities through their reporting? Or do they remain with the villagers and attempt to protect them despite having almost no means of defense? And the African Union peacekeepers are not allowed by their own government to intervene. So this becomes a sort of Sophie's Choice type situation of what do we do? And that's pretty much what the movie is predicated on, is that decision these journalists must make. And a little bit about Uwe Boll. I can't believe there aren't film fans that aren't familiar with this guy, but he is, I want to say, divisive, controversial, much derided by most of the film going community, I guess is a way of looking at it. So let's just talk about him a little bit. He was born in West Germany, and at 10 years old, apparently, he decided to become a director after seeing the Marlon Brando 1962 version of Mutiny on the Bounty. And then after high school, he applied to several film schools, but he was unsuccessful. And so he just studied business administration and literary studies, and he actually does have a doctorate in literary studies. So he went around for a while at first calling himself Dr. Uwe Boll, and people gave him no end of shit for that. But dude's actually a doctor, so do with that what you will. He released a couple of films in the early 2000s, a horror movie called Black Woods, and in 2002 he did some refer to it as Columbine exploitation, about a film called Heart of America about school shooters. I have not seen it.
I haven't seen that one either.
Yeah, I had actually never heard of it. And now, unfortunately, I kind of want to watch it, but I'm sick. In 2003 is when he kind of burst onto the scene with a long string of video game adaptations that he partly funded through a German tax loophole. So the first one out of the gate was House of the Dead. Then he did Alone in the Dark 2, Blood Rain, the Blood Rain trilogy. He's got a bunch of them. These became very infamous. He was just criticized left and right for him. Fans hated him. Video game fanatics hated him. In fact, I even wrote a very scathing review of House of the Dead for an online zine I was writing for back in 2003, where Uwe Boll compared his movie to Saving Private Ryan, and I suggested that Steven Spielberg should have him shot. So that's my history with his films. In 2006, he famously issued a press release inviting some of his critics to fight him in the ring, because Uwe Boll is an amateur boxer, and he challenged a bunch of critics to this to a bout, and he proceeded to beat the shit out of all of them, because I don't think they knew he actually knew how to fight. So that was featured in a documentary called Raging Bull, if you care to see it. It's quite entertaining.
I have laughed my ass off. Yep.
Yeah, it's great. So as we move on in the career of Uwe Boll, in April of 2008, The Guardian ran an article claiming that Boll had promised to retire if an online petition asking him to do so received 1 million signatures. And they never met the 1 million signature goal, so he didn't retire. Which brings us to now, where we're at. And in September of 2010, a trailer for his film titled Auschwitz dropped online, and it ignited a firestorm of criticism. Boll claiming he was going to show the truth that Steven Spielberg was afraid to show in Schindler's List. And I have not seen Auschwitz. You told me you have.
I've watched it, and I can't really tell you too much about it.
Right.
Because as someone who has seen a lot of extreme horror films and extreme exploitation films, it was boring.
Right.
I fell asleep through it, and like I remember like putting the DVD on, watching like the first 10 minutes of it, and then falling asleep and waking up as like the last scene is happening, and it's like, okay, what are you telling us? It's like,
right.
And I find his choice of putting himself in the movie as a German guard at Auschwitz to like, if you're making a message film, and you shouldn't like insert yourself on the side that you should be criticizing.
Agreed. Yeah. It's
like if you're trying to make a point that like a genocide is bad or a Holocaust is bad, you don't insert yourself on the bad guy side.
No, you do not. And that's it was very, very criticized for that. And of course, the one thing to know about Uwe Boll is he does not give a shit what people think about him or his movies.
And to an extent, I admire that about him.
I do too, actually.
The ability for him to be like, I don't care, I'm going to do it. That's the type of attitude that gets stuff done.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think goes along with it is he's really ambitious. He'll like aim for the sky.
Yeah. But
his execution is where things get muddled up or whatever.
Absolutely. And that's I think that's kind of the consensus with him. And I'm I definitely respect people who shoot for the stars, whether they fail or not. I think what rubs me the wrong way about him at times is the fact that he doesn't seem to know he's missing the mark. But we'll get into that, because in 2000, it was around this time that he started to make what he calls more serious, socially conscious films, like Auschwitz, one called Stoic, there's one called Tunnel Rats, and then Darfur.
So Stoic and Tunnel Rats are pretty good.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen either of those. My experience up until watching Darfur, I'd only seen 3 of his movies, and I'd watched both the documentaries made about him. However, I've seen millions of interviews and read millions of articles about him, so I feel like I know him a lot more than I do his actual filmography. I hated House of the Dead. I didn't hate Afraid of the Dark, but I didn't like it either. And then I did watch Postal. Have you seen Postal?
Yes. So House of the Dead I didn't like. The only part that I liked is when he does like the rotating camera thing.
Yeah.
Because that part is like him showing his ambition. But the movie makes no sense, right?
No.
In the Name of the Dragon, whichever one of those that I saw, I was like, oh, okay, whatever. But Postal, I was like, oh, okay, this is hilarious. Yeah. Because it was just like every absurdity taken to an absurd level.
Oh, yeah. And it was definitely, people compare it to South Park. And I can see that. And apparently, from what he says, the South Park guys liked it. But it's one of those movies, like, I don't necessarily know if I liked it, but I did laugh through it. In fact, there's a really tasteless joke in it that amongst certain friends that know me well enough, I like to make that joke. Mainly because I'm German, so I think it's a funny joke against German people, so I'm not going to repeat it on the show. But if you want to go see it or rent it, but I'm not going to lie, that scene at the beginning where the 2 terrorists are flying towards the Trade Center, it's I feel like I'm going to hell, but I laughed through that whole scene. Just the actors were so good that I was almost like, I can't believe I'm laughing at this. It's terrible, but it I don't know. So I don't know what to say about that, but so yeah, everybody check out Postal, I guess, if you want to test your sense of humor. But
oh, definitely.
Yeah. So in 2017, then Boll decided to retire and become a restaurateur, He had some successes, some failures, and that didn't work out. So 3 years later, he decided to return to filmmaking, and since then has made about 5 films, with 4 more planned to be released in 2027. And his latest is called Citizen Vigilante, or Vigilante, sorry. And that one has been very controversial. It's been banned in Germany already, and it has been called extremely racist and xenophobic. And it stars Armie Hammer, and his controversies come along with that. I'm not going to get into that. If anybody wants to know, that's what Google's for. But it actually got an endorsement from everybody's favorite techno-feudalist, trillionaire fascist, Elon Musk. Because of course it did. But I'm guessing Elon Musk has not seen it, and he just heard from somebody that, hey, this movie's racist, and he went, hell yeah, I'll promote that. So whatever, fuck that guy.
Yeah. And so, I saw that it was out. I haven't watched it. I don't know if I'm going to watch it, because I think, like, with a name like Citizen Vigilante, you already know exactly what the film is going to be. And I think after Death Wish, I Spit on Your Grave, and Gaspar Noé's Irreversible, how much more can you tell on a vigilante revenge story?
Exactly.
It's already been done to perfection.
Yeah.
I don't think Uwe Boll has stuff or the talent to say whatever it is he wants to say in that film in a way that would add to that, like, subgenre of film.
Yeah. That's exactly it. I like you, I've seen all those, and it's like you said, it's been done to perfection already. Like, what else do we need? Especially from somebody who's definitely not going to have anything new to say, and if he does, he's not going to say it very well, and just double down on all the criticism coming at it. And I don't know. Anyway, the other crew members in this. We got a co-writer and co-producer, and with Chris Rowland. This is his only writing credit, and he also produced a couple films for Boll. Same cinematographer, and his Matthias Newman, who's pretty much shot all of his stuff, and then his go-to composer, Jessica de Rouge, if I'm pronouncing that right, sorry. She scored pretty much all of his stuff as well. So he basically just, as usual, he kind of has a small crew for his movies, because they, aren't that big a budget. Our cast, real quick, we got Christina. Is it Christina Loken? I never really knew how to pronounce
Christina
Loken. She has appeared in a number of Boll's films, the Blood Rain films, and In the Name of the King. Most people will know her from, she played the TX in Terminator 3, where at the time she actually won a Saturn Award for a Saturn Award for Best Supporting Actress. And then, if this tells you anything about our society, is the same year she was nominated for an MTV Movie Award for Sexiest She-Villain. So there you go. She has also earned a couple of nominees from the Razzie Awards, which I hate, but both of them were for Uwe Boll movies. And next we've got...
Well, Uwe Boll has won 3 of them.
Oh, yeah, he's swept them. He's like one of the most lauded Razzie Award winners of all time. She plays one of the journalists, Mellon Lawsberg. And then we've got David O'Hara, who plays Freddie Smith. He's known from Braveheart, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. He was in The Departed, Hotel Rwanda, Horizon, the Kevin Costner film, and Cowboys and Aliens, which I've actually never seen. Next, we have Billy Zane. Everybody knows Billy Zane from Titanic, where he played one of the... I'm not a big fan of that film, but he did play one of the all-time great bastards in that film. God, he's a dick. I first saw him in Dead Calm back in 1990, an Australian film that also featured Nicole Kidman and Sam Neill.
Yep.
Awesome movie.
I think that's the first time I saw him too.
Yeah, he was creepy as hell in that movie. It's a great movie. If you've never seen it,
I never saw Titanic though.
what's that? Oh, you never saw Titanic? Well,
Nope.
it
Nope.
sinks. There.
Yeah, that's why I haven't seen it.
Actually,
It's like I know how it ends.
to tell you the truth, that's the best part of the movie. But you got like 2 hours of, poorly written romance, whatever. Because James Cameron's he's a good director technically, knows how to tell a story, but he cannot write.
When Titanic came out and everything, everyone was like, "Oh, you should go and see it. You should go and see it." And I was like, "Why should I see it? I know how it ends."
Right. I did.
It's not going to take me on a journey that changes anything.
Yeah, I mean, it really is nothing more than a mega budget disaster film. So if you're all about disaster films, I am. I love disaster films, but that's the most exciting part of the movie is just to watch the disaster. But having said all that, James Cameron, if you need a ghostwriter, I'm available. I want to give a shout out personally personally from me to you, Billy Zane, because you were the 2000 winner of the B Movie Award at the B Movie Film Festival for Best Actor in a film I actually love called I Woke Up Early the Day I Died. It's a film made from an unproduced Ed Wood script, and I actually think it's brilliant and is exactly what Ed Wood would have made if he were making movies back in 2000. I will die on that hill, and I recommend everybody watch I Woke Up Early the Day I Died if you can find it. It's quite a treat, and Billy Zane is hilarious in it. Do you like Billy Zane? I like him. I don't go out of my way to see all of his movies, but when he shows up, I'm not really mad.
I don't dislike him.
Okay.
But like you, I don't search out his work. But when he's in a movie, I know who he is. It'd be like, oh, that's Billy Zane.
Yeah.
And then depending on the quality that he's working with, it will determine like what Billy Zane we get.
Right. Agreed. We also have another Terminator alum in this film. We've got Edward Furlong, and most people remember him as what's his name? John. Why can't I think of John Connor? Little baby John Connor in Terminator 2, which in 1992 he also won a Saturn Award for his performance in Terminator 2. And get this. At the 1992 MTV Movie Awards, he got Best Breakthrough Performance. Kristana just got Sexiest She-Villain. So, way to go, MTV. Ladies, get mad. Last but not least, I have a fondness for this man going all the way back to the 80s when I was in junior high. One Mr. Matt Frewer, and he will always live in my heart as the man who played Max Headroom, which he had a talk show, he had Coke commercials, and he had a sci-fi show that ran for a while called 13 Minutes into the Future. I loved the hell out of that show. I loved Max Headroom. I even bought his book, and I saved up Coke bottle caps all summer one time just to get a free t-shirt. And I did, and it was too small, and I was so mad about that. So he's in this, numerous other movies. I'm sure most people know Matt Frewer. I can never see him without seeing Max Headroom, but that's just me. So that's all I got.
Same.
That's all I got, Trav. So let's get into this.
Yeah. Sure.
Do you want to explain just briefly here, just for more context? This film is fictionalizing the genocide in Darfur. For anybody who may not know, just a brief summary of what went down and basically what this film is fictionalizing.
Yeah, absolutely. So since the middle 90s, late 90s, Sudan, where Darfur is located, Darfur is pretty much all of the western border of Sudan. They've been in a state of like civil war along tribal lines and religious lines, and the tribes are very much connected to ethnic regions. And that's one of the things that I think this film shows really well. But we'll get to that. So basically, in the early 2000s, it sort of like Tinder exploded, and the 2003 to 2008 genocide displaced about 2 million people, and it's estimated 300,000 people lost their lives. The UN and the African Union formed a peacekeeping coalition to go in and try to maintain peace. And they've been in negotiations for the last 10 years about pulling out, because they can't. Because this whole civil war, like it did like slow down some, but as of 2023, it kicked off again, and there's like a whole nother genocide happening right there, right now.
Jesus.
Yeah. So on one side, you had some factions that all grouped together, who were in agreement with various peace treaties with the government, but the government had the Janjaweed, who are one of the tribes. They use them as their like security paramilitary forces. They're usually the perpetuators of most of these atrocities that occur in the Darfur region. And the government denies supplying them with artillery,
of course,
and communications equipment. But and again, I think that's another one of the things that I think the film shows really well is like, the tribal aspect of what's happening. But just the sheer like amount of people that are being victimized by this really needless conflict is horrible. And even though Uwe Boll isn't the greatest storyteller or filmmaker, he's the only one like in the fictional realm, because there's like 4 or 5 really good documentaries, but he's the only one in the fictional realm who's even approached the topic.
Okay.
For what it's worth, I tip my hat to him for that.
And just anybody listening, we want to discuss the subject matter as delicately as possible, and it may tip into some uncomfortable things. So just be mindful. But I actually, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, I don't really have a strong opinion on Uwe Boll one way or the other. Yeah, he's made some shitty movies. Yeah, I thought a couple of them were kind of funny. But I don't really hate him. I don't really like him. Like, I never really got caught up in the furor of it. I just thought it was funny to throw out the Uwe Boll vampire thing. Just because. But this is a totally different type of movie. So
yeah, like if you have seen the In the Name of the Dragon or House of the Dead, if you've seen those films or his video game films, and then you come to this film, you would be like, who is this?
Yeah.
Because the tonal shift is a total whiplash.
So when you and I were talking, and I, sort of took your challenge and said, accepted, sir. Thank you, Sai. And I was like, let's do this. Let's palaver. See, I'm just throwing all these Dark Tower references in here. But you thought about it for a minute and got back to me and suggested this one in particular. And so why don't you tell me why that was? Because you had seen this before, I had not. So what was your thinking behind it? Like, why did you pick this one to have me watch?
So a part of my thesis statement is Uwe Boll is the pinnacle of postmodern filmmakers. And despite this film's serious subject matter, it still fits with what I mean by postmodern filmmaker.
Okay.
And those are the parts where I think we can like talk about his storytelling and cinematic techniques. and joke about them, because again, he's ambitious. I like that he's ambitious.
Yeah.
He just doesn't do it very well. And some of the examples that I'm going to show or compare him to will be like, oh, that's what would have made this better.
Okay, no, I think that's what. So that's kind of the approach that you came to me with. Was I want to talk about him as a postmodernist filmmaker through this movie as an example. You didn't throw this movie at me to be like, hey, I want to shock you or this or that. It was, you just thought this would be a good vessel through which we could, extrapolate, or you could extrapolate on your theory. And I have been dying to hear this theory. I will say this. You prompted me to do my own research on this subject a little bit. Not enough to steal your thunder, but I just want you to know going into this, you're not the only one, my friend. You're not the only one that feels this way. So
that does not surprise me.
Yeah, I didn't listen to any of them. But I want to listen to you. So why don't you get into it? I definitely am very anxious and excited to hear this.
Okay, so I think to do that, first we gotta define what I mean by postmodern filmmaker, right? So postmodernism as a philosophy is perhaps what I like as the philosophy, the way it's called or described. It's the ideology of what I term latte stage capitalism.
No, I love it.
But essentially, what postmodernism is it's this philosophy that is really skeptical towards everything, and it strips all meaning from everything that you're doing in order to be reconstituted so you can generate something that equally has no meaning, but people can make money off of it. And that's why in our current everyday, we get more unregulated with our capitalism society. Everything loses meaning.
Yeah.
Right? Like acts of heroism lose meaning. Villains get to be president.
Yeah.
Right? So when we apply that philosophy to filmmaking is all about storytelling. But one of the central conceits of postmodernism is stripping away those grand narratives. And I think in this film and in some of his other work, Uwe Boll does exactly that. He strips away the grand narrative. And there's some other things that we're going to get into that he does in this film that I think are also examples of the whole postmodern filmmaking thing. So it's really just like, that's the framework. Nothing means anything.
Yeah. And
we're going to reconstitute stuff and generate profit. That's all we're going to do with it.
Yeah, I'm with you so far. I do not disagree.
When we think about stripping away the grand narrative, and I know Chris Rowland is credited as a co-writer or whatever, I don't think much writing happened.
No.
I think they had a couple of set pieces, mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to do the village scene, we're going to do the ending scene, and we're going to do the beginning scene, the opening scene.
Yeah.
But we never learn who any of these characters are.
No.
There's no background given on why the characters are there. We meet them in the middle of a conversation where they're all are we going to leave?
Yeah.
Are we going to leave? And then they're all oh, let's go to this village, right? And a part of that is Uwe Boll let the actors improvise their dialogue.
Yeah.
And it shows, because there's scenes where they're standing around talking about drinking, they're standing around the water cooler, talking about their favorite sports team or whatever, and I'm just what is going on?
Yeah.
But that plays into destroying the grand narrative of it.
Yeah.
And then when I think okay, he's showing his ambition, right? But another filmmaker made a movie around the same time, different subject matter, but let the actor and actress improvise most of their dialogue. And that was Steven Soderbergh's film The Girlfriend Experience with Sasha Grey.
Oh, yeah.
As she was transitioning from her previous life or career, and she was trying to get into mainstream film, that was like her first sticking her toe in the water,
Yeah.
But most of the dialogue in that film was improvised.
Right.
It was like they were given the situation and then improvised. And that film has something that I think some of the character moments in Darfur does not have, which is coherence.
Right. Yeah. Their conversations do make sense and lead to something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And so that is one of those things where I think like, okay, he's letting the actors flex their muscle, but Billy Zane is just standing around talking about drinking with Edward Furlong.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, what? Okay, cool. I'm along for the ride.
And Edward Furlong looks like he had a few before they started filming, but maybe that was his method.
Maybe. And so I think like that part definitely plays into that postmodern philosophy. And this is not the only movie that Uwe Boll does this in. But it is one of those, what I would say, characteristics or traits of postmodern filmmaking. And the whole, like, I don't care about the story. Zack Snyder, he's another director who I would say is a postmodern filmmaker. He can shoot great scenes, but he cannot tell a story to save his life. And he cannot have actors create characters that are worth watching, which is why anything that he's made post Watchmen has been horrendous.
Okay. The one movie of his I've seen is Dawn of the Dead, and I actually like that one.
Yeah, no, that one's great.
Yeah, James Gunn wrote that, so
Yep.
James Gunn knows how to tell a story. So
yeah,
but
and that's what I'm saying.
I have a friend who's best friends with my roommate, and he's obsessed with Zack Snyder cuts of everything. And they've watched several 4-hour-long Zack Snyder whatevers, and they hate him every time, but I haven't seen them, so I can't vouch for that. But I believe you.
The 4-hour Justice League thing is better than the one that was released theatrically.
Okay,
but that's not a high bar. Not a high bar at all.
I haven't seen it, so yeah.
You can still take Aquaman out and have the same film.
Okay.
I mean, that's how he treats characters. It's like, does he even need to be there? He doesn't really do anything in the film. It's like, okay, I mean, why is he here then?
Well, he's in the Justice League, but screw it.
Yeah. And not to go on a tangent, but the way he treats Superman, I'm going to take Superman and deconstruct him and turn him into this Ayn Rand objectivist.
Oh, jeez.
That just makes me want to grab Zack Snyder by the shoulders and shake the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Because that's not how you deconstruct Superman.
No. That's ridiculous. Did he say those exact words?
Yep. That was the whole premise of the Man of Steel.
He wanted to Ayn Rand of... Okay.
Yep.
I didn't know that. That makes me mad.
If you get around to watching Man of Steel, and then Batman v Superman, and then the Justice League, the Superman character is being framed in those terms.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
And it's like, I think Henry Cavill is a good actor, great for playing Superman, but that is not Superman.
No. But anyway, continue. No, I'm loving this. I hadn't really thought of it at all in that way, and you're not wrong. So you got me. Okay.
Yeah, well, so going back to like the one of the other chief conceits of postmodernism, deconstructionism of stories and character tropes is a key factor, and sometimes it works really well. Hence Alan Moore's career in comic books.
Right. Yeah.
But some filmmakers, like Uwe Boll and Zack Snyder, they don't do it well. Like, I appreciate the ambition, and like that's the goal. But when you shoot your arrow and it doesn't hit the target, it's like, and sometimes it's not even in the ballpark. It's like, okay. But I will say this. as a part of that whole deconstruction of character tropes. I do like Darfur because it throws the whole Joseph Campbell, hero of a thousand faces character arcs out the window.
Yeah.
It totally subverts the white savior narrative.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, for all of his big ideas, and we're going to get to the shaky cam thing here in a minute.
Yes, we have to.
but yeah. For all of those big ideas and ambition that he's putting into the film, I don't know if it was by purpose or if he just lucked into those things that I think are good examples, like subverting the white savior narrative and throwing out the hero with a thousand faces type character development.
Yeah.
Like those things we've seen over and over and over again, and they get tiring and predictable. And I'm glad he throws it away, because when the two journalists decide to go back to the village in the film, I was like, here we go, white savior narrative.
Right.
And then they die.
Yeah.
You know? So spoilers.
Yeah, spoiler alert, everybody. A lot of people die in this movie. So.
Yeah. But I will say, like, the main Jawid insurgent, well, not insurgent, they're counterinsurgent, paramilitary, the leader of those guys, that actor, I forget his name, and I didn't write it down in my notes.
Yeah, I forgot to,
that
too.
That guy is great.
Yeah, he's
that
good.
guy was terrifying.
Yes, he was.
Like, if they were improvising their dialogue, he was terrifying.
Yeah. I watched a little making of that was on YouTube about this movie, and they briefly talked to him, and in the name super beneath them, it said Jawid consultant. Like, I think he was probably somebody that was an expert in that, because that's something we should mention is, other than the cast I mentioned and a couple of the other actors, most of the people in this are amateurs. Most of them are actual Sudanese refugees that were reenacting stuff they had seen in real life or were told happened. So there's a verisimilitude to it that in those scenes is definitely gripping. And, most of them are very good. It's that did surprise me that these were all mostly, in fact, I would say in some cases they're better than the professional actors, because absolutely. They're coming from a real place, and you can see it in their eyes. Yep. And it's quite striking. So,
and that part of it reminded me, and again, we're talking like big ambition here. Yeah. That part of this whole film reminded me of the Battle of Algiers, which is a great film.
Yeah, I've actually never seen that one either. So I apologize, everybody, because I should have seen it by now, but it's on my list. But yeah,
the Battle of Algiers is like one of the earliest examples of cinema verite, right? This is like Uwe Boll doing cinema verite, failing miserably, but every now and again in certain scenes he gets it exactly right.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
he lucks into it. He didn't plan on it. He lucked into it, I think.
Yeah.
And they filmed this in South Africa outside of Johannesburg, but they picked an area that looks just like the Darfur region that it's set in.
Yeah.
Because I looked at pictures and I compared, and I was like, whoever was the location scout did a really good job.
Well, they get into that in that making of, because they actually built that whole village using materials from the area to make it as realistic as possible. And they said when a lot of the extras and amateur actors showed up, they were just like in shock at how much it reminded them of where they had come from. So good on them. I mean, I think that's admirable. So,
and again, I think because this is Uwe Boll, one of Uwe Boll's message films,
right.
I think his heart was in the right place. And like I said, he's the only filmmaker in the fictional realm that has tackled this subject. But yeah, I just thought that was one of the things that translated really well with whatever vision. And so, I'm still like kind of joking about him being like the pinnacle of postmodern filmmaking. But at the same time, I'm not just ragging on the guy. It's like these are the things that I think he did really well, or collaborated really well to get to. And these are the things where I can see the ambition, but then the execution and the results aren't there. That, I think, brings us to the shaky cam.
Yes. This whole movie is shaky cam. You never get a still shot in this entire film. So if you're planning on watching this, you should know that going in. If Blair Witch made you sick, this is just as bad. I'm fine with it. It didn't bother me, but okay.
The second time that I watched this, it gave me a headache.
Okay.
In the shaky cam thing, again, drawing back to Steven Soderbergh, he likes to use the handheld camera to get the kinetic energy to enhance the realism.
Yeah.
And, I appreciate the shaky cam when it's used properly, right? I think like Steven Soderbergh uses it properly. I think there are some found footage films that use the shaky cam thing to great effect.
I would also throw in there, I don't know what you feel about this film, but I thought it was very effective. But Catherine Bigelow's The Hurt Locker, she used the shaky cam a lot. I thought that movie's fucking tense, man. Like I watched that movie and I'm on edge the whole time, but I have no experience in that. So, but I'm just saying, as far as filmmaking techniques, it was, okay, this, you got to be insane to do this, but I think that was the point of the movie. But it was quite effective. But again, she's a talented filmmaker and knows how to tell a story. So.
Yes. And with The Hurt Locker, the way that she captures Jeremy Renner's character in the supermarket.
Yeah.
That scene where he's like pushing the shopping cart and the lights are like sucking out his soul.
Yeah.
And he's just like looks dead inside.
Yeah.
That is what it feels like to come back from a deployment.
Okay.
I can tell you 100%.
Okay.
That is what it feels like.
Yeah.
Until like you get your bearings back and all of that. That scene, for all of its imperfections, because there's things about that film that are really, really wrong, but it's still a really good film. That scene is perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I don't doubt it. A lot of them have used the shaky cam pretty much ever since Saving Private Ryan and stuff, but I thought, it's a weird film to talk about because it's kind of divisive, but I was impressed by a lot of the battle scenes in American Sniper, where he used a lot of the shaky cam. And
American Sniper is another one of those films that's it's got some things that are right about that whole experience, and then it's got some things that are wrong, but the things that are wrong stem from the egotism of the author.
Right. Yeah. That's why I said it's a little difficult to talk about that one, because I know he's a bit of a problematic fella, but movie wise, if we're just looking at a fictionalization,
Yeah. And like Lone Survivor,
I haven't seen that one.
It's good as an action
film. Okay.
It's good. And it tells in broad strokes, it tells the story really, really well.
Okay.
But it is so far removed from what actually happened.
Okay.
Like for every thing that it gets right, it does 10 things that did not happen or happened in a different way.
Okay.
So that's what I mean by broad strokes, right?
Right. Yeah. I got.
But again, when I was in Afghanistan, Lone Survivor, I was there for 180 days, and that was the one movie I watched every day.
Oh wow, every day. Okay.
Yeah. The other thing that Lone Survivor does really well, even though I think it was filmed in New Mexico, if I remember correctly, it captures what Afghanistan looks like.
Oh wow. Okay.
Like the part where Ben Foster's character is talking about shale.
Okay.
That's like the mountains, right?
Okay.
And so I like it as a film. It's decently made. It tells a good story of an event that happened, but you got to condense things down for cinema and everything. And
sure.
But there's people have made 3-hour long videos dissecting how stuff is wrong in it from what actually happened. So I'm not going to like waste our time getting into all of that. But for the shaky cam stuff that they use in that film, again, it's like, oh, it's done really well. It enhances the story. It puts you like in the headspace, right?
Yeah.
And because the shaky cam is used so much in Darfur, like the entire runtime, it's like, did you just not bring a tripod?
Yeah. I feel like he could have been more selective with what because after a while it's like, well, your effect wears off because now we're just used to it. Whereas you could use more static shots, and then when you get to the stuff that needs shaky, then it's more immersive because you aren't expecting it. And so it definitely kind of it sort of inures you and assimilates you a little too early when it's just dudes sitting around talking about beer.
Yeah, and I think in those early scenes that should be about establishing who these 6 characters are but aren't, that should have been static camera.
Yeah.
It should have been reverse shot, you know?
Yep.
Sure, whatever. But then like the shaky cam, when we're in the village and the villagers are being terrorized, if you would have used shaky cam in those scenes, you would have been like, oh my God, what's going on? And then as all of these like men are coming into the village and rounding people up and killing people, and they start burning stuff and raping and all of the stuff that goes along with genocide, right?
Yeah.
The shaky cam would have been way, way effective because you would have felt the terror. Like the camera would be shaking, making you feel terror.
Yep.
But because it's just shaky cam when these journalists are just talking about getting drunk and what meal they're going to have when they go back to wherever they are from in the world, because we're like subjected to it, then we don't get that contrast.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And again, I can see the ambition. Oh, realism, hyperkinetic camera, all of that. I can see the ambition.
Yeah.
But the execution.
No, 100%. 100%. You know what I just thought of would have been better? And it could have sort of forgave some of the shaky cam throughout the whole thing, is why wasn't one of the reporters just carrying a camera the whole time filming it all, and then you could just explain it as a documentary, because they just bring cameras, and it's like I have to believe they would have had a video camera, and even back in 2003 when this takes place. So like, why didn't they just do that? Because then we all would have bought it from the start. But,
Yep. Well, the funny thing is I think it was in 2003 or whatever, there was an American journalist who was in Chad, snuck over the border into Darfur, and gave video cameras to the people who lived there.
Oh, wow.
So when the Janjaweed would come in, they could record the atrocities. He got caught and charged with espionage and crossing the border illegally. And then it was like 2 years before the State Department could get him out. But it'd be like, that's almost a better story.
That's a better movie. I want to see that.
It would have made sense, It would have been like, oh, okay, I get why the camera's shaky. Because the guy gave it to a bunch of villagers, and they don't know how to, like, hold steady and all of that. And they're being terrified in the moment. Yeah.
But yeah, somebody make that movie. That's fascinating to me. I'd watch that.
Yeah, so would I. But, and then, like, so another thing that I put in my notes here is, even though I really, really love the score, he puts these, like, happy melodies in these really intense scenes. And so there's, like, this juxtaposition going on between what we're hearing and what we're seeing. And then, like, 2/3 of the way through the film, when it gets to really, really intense, then it's like he remembers, like, oh, I got to have a tense score here.
Yeah, it's kind of that canned Hollywood Arabic music that they just sort of throw in trailers or in Hollywood movies where they visit the Middle East and they have to have that woman singing, which I don't mind. I actually like that kind of music, but there were times where I was like, I don't know if this is what we needed right here. Like maybe in the sad moments when some of the villagers are telling their stories, sure. But there were other times where I'm like, no, I don't think this is working.
Yeah. And I think like the scene where Christina Loken's character is talking to the female villagers, and she's all, and the female villager is like, oh yes, they come in and they raped us, and some of them have AIDS, and they tell us that we have AIDS now. And,
yeah.
Right. And the music in that scene is like happy go lucky, and I'm like, what?
Oh yeah, I honestly don't remember the music, thank God, from that scene, because that actually really bothered me, because I'd heard stories of that before, but just the way that actress was so good telling that story, and I was like,
yeah. Yep.
But now that you're mentioning it, maybe I'll go back and listen for the music cue and be mad now, because thank God I was more focused on what they were talking about but shit. Yeah, you don't do that.
But so then it's like all of these things come together. We get our little 90-minute film that it does shed light on this horrible atrocity that 20 years ago was happening and is now still happening. And for that, he gets a feather for that, at least, right? But I think, postmodern filmmaker, you've got all these ideas, but to be a postmodern filmmaker, all those ideas mean nothing.
Yeah.
If we translate it and put it on the screen in all of these ambitious ideas and techniques that he's trying to use, if they fail, because they don't mean anything, have they really failed?
Oh, wow.
And this is why I think Uwe Boll is the pinnacle of postmodern filmmakers.
Wow, you got me with that at the end there. I don't know what to say to that. Like, I can't say you're wrong. I would have to think about that some more. And so the nihilism is the point, because there is no point.
Yep.
Yet you're trying to make a message film that has a point, but you're undermining your own point by showing us that nothing matters. Yeah, okay.
Since I brought him up, as a postmodern filmmaker, Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder, even though he fails miserably at telling stories, his films, other than the one with the girl punch whatever thing.
Oh, Sucker Punch, yeah.
His films, his films are still, other than that one, and I haven't seen Rebel Moon or whatever, his films are still mostly tied to actual narrative.
Right.
Poorly executed because he has no idea how to develop characters or the plot. But he can shoot a scene. He can make scenes look good. I just wish he wouldn't desaturate everything all the time. But that's why I like Day of the Dead, or his version of Dawn of the Dead, because it's not desaturated. It's vibrant.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so while Zack Snyder might be rolling in billions of dollars because he's lucked into some very lucrative IP, Uwe Boll is the one who's out here really like the vanguard of the postmodern filmmaker. Okay.
You've given me, and hopefully a lot of the viewers, it's a podcast, Ryan, a lot of the listeners something to think about. I mean, I'm still kind of rattling this around in my brain.
Like if the characters are 6 journalists, if they would have had dialogue that, number one, developed who they were, so we were invested in them, and explained the situation better, like that would have changed a lot of the problems that are inherent in the film that we have.
Yeah. You get little moments because the movie's bookended, which we eventually realize is a flashback of the journalists who did not go back. And they're all sitting, I'm assuming, in a tent or something. We don't actually ever see where they're at, but they're laying on cots, they're drinking beer, they're kind of saying stuff like, God, I don't know how I'm going to live with myself now, and, hey, man, just celebrate that you're alive, and blah, 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 blah. And Matt Frewer's character, says something about how am I gonna go back to my wife and kids. And at first, because the flashback is kind of a tease, and then we go into the events, and then we see the same scene again afterwards, and so now we know, oh, this is the aftermath, and they're dealing with, should they have gone back, should they have not. And that meant I didn't mind it so much, but it was, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, we get this one line of him talking about his wife and kid, and I don't recall that he even mentions them at all ever in the movie proper. So it was kind of like, that didn't really hold any weight with me when I saw it, because I'm like, well, oh, you've got a wife and kid? Oh, okay. And, you'll get throwaway lines, like every once in a while, they're like, the one guy's like, oh, it's like they've been at war forever, and it's like they enjoy it. And then the other guy's just like, film it, file it, move on. That's our job. And it's like, okay, I get it. You're all hardcore, grizzled war reporters. And I'm sure they do have a little bit of gallows humor. You'd have to survive that world. And I'm sure they've got desensitized nerves to a lot of the stuff they have to cover. I worked in TV news. I've worked with journalists. They do have a sort of sick sense of humor, and it's all to combat the horror or whatever they have to listen to all the time. And I'm not saying anybody in Grand Rapids TV ever covered anything as appalling as this, but they all have to go out to crime scenes and accidents and all that. And so I get that, but it was never developed. Like, you were just supposed to know this by how they looked, oh, I'm smoking a cigarette while I'm filming Atrocities. Aren't I hardcore? It's like, I get it, but you're right. They didn't develop any of it, and it ultimately meant nothing until the journalists that do go back, they get you at least, okay, these guys have a conscience that won't let them sleep at night if they don't go do it. So, and that's enough for a movie, I guess, like this, but you're right. Like, it just, I never thought of it in terms of him taking the grand narrative and throwing it out. We get a little bit of why they're there. They're delivering goods, and they have to make a report to the powers that be when they go back that this stuff is happening, and blah, blah, blah. And that's all well and good, but I agree with you that the whole throwing out the whole big narrative is kind of this movie's downfall, because this movie needed context. It's one thing to show atrocity, and they do. This film does not flinch away from anything, and some of it is quite disturbing. It's very graphic at times. And it's not even the violence that's disturbing. It's the absolute joy that these, what did you call them, counterinsurgents, that they have on their face.
Paramilitary,
sorry. Yeah, the pure joy some of them have on their face as they're raping and chopping people up with machetes, and the stuff they do to babies. It's and I have no problem with that if a film wants to go there. I think it's important sometimes to go there. You don't want to do a disservice to this type of real life thing, and not, as survivors, or not as survivors, but as people who have not gone through this. I think it sometimes is our duty to bear witness to atrocity so that we don't forget it. So I'm not one of those people that has a problem with doing that in film. But again, context,
yes. Yep.
Don't throw us into it and expect us to be impressed with your, I'm got a shaky cam and all that without giving us something more to like, why did these? Because some of the characters at first are like, no, let's not go back. And then later they're like, oh, we're the ones going back. The ones that wanted to go back no longer want to. And it's like, that's too easy. Like, it's just, it's too, what would you call it? It's almost caricature-ish of like, this person's going to do this at the start and then change their mind later, and vice versa. And that's like, I get what you're trying to say, Uwe, but I like you kept saying, it's ambition far exceeded his means and his talent. So good job on you, because I did not look at this movie at all, even as a postmodern film. And I know enough about postmodernism to think I would have been aware of this, but I didn't notice any of that. Now you're pointing it out, and I'm like, you're right. You got me.
Well, another thing that, like, okay, you've got Billy Zane in this film, who can play, like, people might say he's got limited range or whatever, but he has enough talent to play the James Woods type character in this film.
I agree. Yeah.
And you subvert that narrative by giving him, like, what, 5 lines of dialogue, and then he just stands around.
Yeah. He does nothing of consequence in this film. So
yeah. It's like, I'm glad he and Edward Furlong could have a job.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. Was they were the ones that were only there for a couple days, so they had to shoot him out, and then the other guys were like, "Well, we got you longer, so you're the heroes."
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's that's very interesting, and I got to be honest. Now I'm kind of curious to go watch some of the films of his I haven't seen, with kind of the seed you've planted in my brain, to see if that is a common theme throughout these films. Because this is my first of his so-called serious work.
Yeah. Well, so like Postal, which you have seen, Postal would be like his epitome, his like mission statement of postmodern filmmaking.
Yeah, and that I can see, because as a comedy, I went into that not expecting it to adhere to any rules, and it doesn't. But like, I guess for a comedy, I kind of just take that in stride when I'm watching a comedy, that, especially one that's as absurdist as, and then knowing he was going for the South Park thing, it's like, okay, I get it. I get what you're going for. And that was the one that when you came to me with this, I was going to say, well, I can see it with Postal.
Well, had you not said not Postal.
Oh, that I'd seen it?
Then that would have been the one we watched.
I see how you play. No, but I'm glad. I'm actually glad that this was the one you picked. I'm not going to lie. I've been hoping for something like this on this show, and something that would, kind of rattle me and make me question some things before I, going into it.
No, I would say this. If people want to know more about what's going on in Darfur, and they don't want to watch like the hard documentaries that are out there, or look up the atrocities or anything, I think this film, if you can withstand the shaky cam, I think this film does do that. I don't think it, because it lacks a narrative that supports it, I don't think it executes the message well, but it is the only film that is sending the message.
Okay.
So I would say if there are activists or bleeding hearts that want to find out more about it, I think this film does capture those things well enough where I'd be like, yeah.
Okay. No, that's good to know. Because I haven't seen any of the documentaries. I'd like to know more. I would. Like I said, unfortunately my knowledge going into this was scant. I know there's very little I can do, but I do like to be aware of these things.
If you want to see all of these ideas other than the shaky cam, because it really wasn't used back then, done in a much better way or executed better, and the message gets sent better, watch the Battle of Algiers.
Yeah, that's been on my list for a very long time, and it's always comes down to, do I really want to go there tonight? Because these are the kind of movies that frustrate the hell out of me while I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just not in the mood. I got to kind of, for my own mental health, keep it in check a little bit with what I'm going to get outraged about. But yeah.
And that's totally understandable. But like, the more that I have over the years read about filmmakers and everything, it seems to be like all of your favorite directors, their favorite film is the Battle of Algiers.
I've noticed that. That's why it's been on my list for so long. I do have a copy of it. In fact, I'm not going to lie. I probably will watch it very soon now that we've talked about it, because that's just how my mind works. I'm a little jaded. I'll admit it. It does take a little bit to rattle me, but war films seem to always just get to me. And so I'm drawn to it because I know it's something I'll never experience. And I absolutely applaud those that, go into it for the right reasons and have been there. I have nothing but respect for that. And I don't know how I would have ever lived through anything like that. I know deep down, I just could not handle it. So I'm the first to admit that. And
when it comes to those kinds of films, the one that I recommend to people the most, especially after my decade and a half wearing the uniform, the one film, like war film or military film or whatever, that I always recommend, and it is a message film, even though people misunderstand the ending, is Come and See.
Oh, I knew you were going to say it. Yep. That is one of my top 20 all-time favorite films. And I thought about that movie a lot while watching this.
Yep. For everybody that I know who's like, oh, you should see Full Metal Jacket, you should see Platoon, you should see Apocalypse Now. Nope. Shut the fuck up. Watch Come and See.
Yeah. That's the whole, like the last 40 minutes of that is some of the most harrowing, gut-wrenching stuff I've ever seen. I remember watching that one night, or the first time I saw it, and I was just like, I was by myself, and the movie ended, and I was just like, God damn. Like, I didn't, I know some people, the ending confuses some people, but I knew enough about the history of that I knew what the movie was trying to see. I had read about the filmmaker, him and his wife, because she made a movie called The Ascent, a war film called The Ascent that I think is brilliant. So those two just knocked it out of the park with their war films. They're both message films. Hers is more like Paths of Glory, the Kubrick film, which I also love.
Yep.
But Come and See is almost, you could almost call it a horror film. It's brutal and it's intense and all seen through the eyes of a child. And yeah, I'm with you. I would recommend that, not as somebody who has even come close to experiencing anything like that in his life, but just as a film experience. Yeah, you can't beat it. And it popped into my head a lot while I was watching Darfur, because I'm not saying Uwe Boll was trying to go for that, but if he was, he didn't come close. But again, kudos for trying. If you're gonna
ambition, it's like, oh, I can see your target. I can see what you're aiming at.
Nope. So, but no, thank you for sharing that viewpoint with us. I do appreciate that. And I wasn't sure how much you wanted to talk about that, but I knew you wore the uniform, and thank you for your service, and I definitely respect that. But I never want to have anybody talk about anything they don't want to talk about. But it's good to get that perspective on some of these films that I know that they're fiction, so I take that with a grain of salt. That obviously not everything's going to be, accurate. But just as a film goer that oftentimes does put himself on the couch and is ready to watch something that is not going to make him feel comfortable, it's good to get a perspective on what's, what works and what doesn't. And so for me, that was the interesting part about watching Darfur. I had no idea you were going to pick Postal. I'm still laughing about that. Wow. How my night would have gone differently had you picked Postal. I may have actually been mad at you. I probably would have been like, what? Now, normally, this is the part where I would have you ask me if you killed me or thrill me. And I just, out of respect for the subject matter, I'm not going to do that. That has nothing to do with my take on the film or not. But this just isn't, I just don't feel comfortable. Well, you thrilled the hell out of me, Trav.
No.
This isn't the kind of movie to do that with.
No, not at all.
My first reaction upon the end credits rolling, I had two reactions. The first one was, it made me once again, because I do this more than I should, but once again, I threw my hands up and I said, where are you, giant asteroid? We need you. We need you badly. But then I was like, no, because I don't want the animals to suffer. I like the animals. They don't deserve it. So maybe Captain Trips, where are you? Weed us out a little bit. I don't care if we have to fight Satan and all that. If I survive, I'm definitely going to go find the woman who bakes all her own bread, and I am going to fight for good, but I probably won't survive. So I don't know. This is just a depressing movie. So like, but once again, yeah, it's just like, God, humanity sucks. So my second thought was, when the credits pop up and it says an Uwe Boll film, that's when I was like, oh yeah, this is an Uwe Boll film, because I'll tell you what, had I not known going into this that it was one of his movies, I honestly would have been shocked by that. Because at least from a filmmaking point of view, this is nothing like those other movies. This actually had some competence to it. And again, or to your point, I don't know if that was accidental or if his crew, just let us do it, man. We'll get you some good stuff. Because sometimes even terrible filmmakers can accidentally make a good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and overall, I honestly think as a film, this isn't bad. It's good. It has its faults, and you covered the faults. A lot of what you said is stuff I was going to say, but you said it so much better and made me kind of recontextualize what I didn't like about it. So on that end, I think it's an effective, well-made film once it gets to the village and we see the atrocities. And as I said earlier, folks, if you really don't think you're up for it, don't watch this. I'm not going to be a dick and tell you to watch this. If you can't handle brutality and sadism, and knowing that it's based on stuff that I have no doubt in my mind actually really occurred, don't watch this. But if you do, it's kind of a eye-opening experience. And to your point, you said that you think this did do a good job of telling what's going on, or what went on there and what is apparently now still going on. Then I think it for that aspect of it alone, it did its job. It definitely shook me.
Yeah. I agree. If you want to know more, but you want to stay away from the harder stuff, this is a fictionalized telling that will put you there. It is a hard watch.
It is a hard watch. And and again, I have no problem with that. I just said one of my favorite films is Come and See. So I have no problem with a filmmaker daring to go there. Again, was Uwe Boll the best choice? No, but apparently he was our only choice. So I guess, like you said, feather in his cap for that. I'll tell you what I really hated about this movie, though, because overall, I think the actors were fine. The amateur actors, the actual Sudanese refugees, and the other actors, the African actors, they did get, that I think were probably more professional than some of the others. They all do a great job. They're fantastic. They outshine the professional actors by a mile. But that said, I still think the professional actors in this, the Zanes and the Matt Fruers and whatnot, are fine. But the one thing above all that I hated was and these might be the only parts that were scripted, and you can kind of tell, is we can save these people. We can make a difference. Make sure the story gets told. All that, is so cheesy. And I was like, oh God. And it almost, a lot of other things undermine what could have made a better movie. But when one of the journalists is running off, and I think it's Christina's character. Well, she's the only white female in this movie. Her character, because she could kind of tell she wants to go too. And the one guy turns to her and he's just like, no, make sure this story gets told. Dramatic music. And I'm like, oh God, okay, you didn't need that. That's just poor. Because you can't really say the script is bad, because I do know they threw out most of it and ad-libbed, but those were the parts where I think they definitely did not ad-lib. And
Yeah, yeah, and
They just gave them the most basic generic lines to say. It was atrocious. Yeah.
yeah, because it's like when they're ad-libbing, they look like they're looking for words.
Yeah.
Like the scene in the tent at the very beginning, it looks like they're looking for words. But in that scene where they're by the trucks and the two white guys are like, we're going to go, give me your gun, to the UN colonel or whatever. And then she's like, I'm going to come too. And he turns around and he's all like, no, you're not. You need to tell the story. They're not looking for words.
No, they know. They're like, finally, we got something to say. And then, we still don't. Okay, we'll do the best with this, Uwe. Thanks,
Yeah.
And I'm not criticizing the actors for that. That they're doing what they're told. It's not the actor's fault. Nobody could deliver those lines in this day and age with any kind of sincerity that's going to be believed. It's like we've seen that so many times. Like, there's just no way to sell that anymore. I'm not sure how I felt about. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm glad those guys went back. I admire them for that. I like to think I would be one of those people that would. And that's great. And I'm glad they went back. But I almost feel like it does become kind of action movie at that point. Like, kind of Rambo-ish. Where it's like, we're going to run off. And
that was my only other point, right? They go back with the UN colonel. He's got an AK-47.
Yeah.
It holds 30 rounds.
Right.
The other guy has a 9mm, which holds, depending on the size of the magazine, maybe 10. So they've got 40 rounds between them. I did not count, but I never saw any of them.
No. The one guy even checks his clip at one point and is like, okay, I got a couple more. And again, I have no problem with guns. It isn't about guns for me, but I don't know enough about guns to know what's. So yeah, I was like, okay, the guy's got an AK. That's cool. I figure he could do a little damage, because I'm sitting there like, okay, he's hiding around the hut and he's got his AK, and I'm like, okay, just spray him. But then I'm like, I don't know how that works. Like, what am I saying? Like you could take out like 12 of those guys with that, right? No, probably not. I don't know what I'm talking about. Like you just said, it holds so many rounds. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was like kind of endless. Like, I don't know. I grew up on Chuck Norris and Rambo. What do I know? So, so it's, like I was saying earlier, it's good to get somebody who knows what they're talking about to be like, nah, that's not really what they would have done. But you know what? I still applaud the guys for going back and trying, and, good on them. But I don't know. I know some people online have commented on how it like turns into a Rambo movie, and it just, ineffective Rambo movie, because really they take out a few dudes, but it's not enough. And we know from there what's going to happen. And again, it's kind of edited in with all this brutality that is almost too Hollywoodish. And this is Boll being like, well, I don't like the Hollywood filmmakers, but then he just kind of turns it into a Hollywood action film. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting there as an audience going, oh God, I hope these guys take him out. And they obviously don't. And very terrible things happen to one of the journalists. And that scene's pretty rough to watch. But
in that scene, I thought he was going to go further.
Oh, okay. I
thought they were going to shoelace him.
Oh, I get what you're saying. That's worse. Yeah, you're right. That's way worse. Okay.
And I know that they were doing that in that area, and I thought, like, if I'm exploiting this thing like Uwe Boll is, would I do it?
Yeah. Right.
And then they didn't, and I was like, okay. A little bit of restraint.
Okay. Good job, Uwe, I guess. You showed a little restraint. After all, a baby getting impaled on a spike, you're going to show some restraint for the white guy? Okay.
Which is why I thought, like, after that, I was like, oh, we're going all out. And then, like, it comes to the journalists, and they start, like, going at the journalists. And I was like, oh, okay. Are they going to shoelace him? And then they didn't. Because, like, once they brought out the gas cans, I was like, oh, that must be what they're going to do. And then they didn't.
But the problem is they Boll undermines that scene by having what's his name? The terrifying guy. I can't remember the character's name, but the really terrifying guy starts giving him a speech about colonization and all which great, I get it, and that's fine. That's stuff people should know, but I don't know that did that character necessarily have to say it to the journalist, because then he's like, challenges the journalist, like, look, I'll let you walk away from here if you say something I tell you to say, and the journalist is like, no, fuck you, and horrible things ensue. But I just felt like that was Boll trying to be preachy again, and I think it just would have been more effective if they just done it. And again, it's not that what he's saying isn't true and that we shouldn't think about these things, but I don't know if at that moment in the film was the time to insert that message.
Yeah, no, that was totally the wrong moment.
Yeah, it just...
If they were going to do that when they kicked him out of the village the first time, that's when he should have been like,
yeah,
this is what I want you to tell Western media, right? Not when I just doused this guy in gasoline. I'll let you live if you go back and say da-da-da-da-da. And then the guy's like, no, and he's like, where are my matches?
Yeah, it's like, okay. So yeah, I despite the subject matter of the film, although that, it doesn't bother me, I should know about this, and I like being educated, and I'm going to check out some of those documentaries you mentioned. And if it shook me enough as a viewer, I can't say that that's a bad thing. I can't fault a movie that, even though, yes, at its heart is probably just an exploitation film, that doesn't mean it can't be a good film with something important to say. That's fine. But I don't know. Get your head out of your own ass, Uwe. You're not that great. You're not great at all. But like you said, I'll give him points for ambition. And I did actually think this was a well-made film for the most part, and I was kind of surprised that it was Uwe Boll.
Yeah.
I really would not. I would have been shocked had I not known going into it, because I even said it to my roommate. I'm like, that was surprisingly effective. I don't, like you said, I don't know if it was an accident or intentional, but it worked. So thank you, Sai, for bringing this film to my attention, and even more so your theory, because you more or less proved your theory to me. I know you said you were kind of joking, but at the same time you're not. And damn, I'm glad you responded to that message on Facebook, or that post, because you responded in the wrong way by not giving me a vampire movie, but you actually made a much more interesting discussion. So that's awesome. And I'm so glad we got to do this.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Knowing what I know about you, I knew you would give me something interesting to go on. So awesome. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. And I know we got to wrap things up. So why don't you remind everybody about your music and where they can find it. And we're actually going to go out with a song from it. So stick around for that, everybody. I'd like you to hear this song. You could tell us which song you picked, because I told you to pick one.
Sure.
To go out. So yeah, tell everybody about the band, where they can find it.
Okay.
And then let them know a little bit about the song, and then we'll just kind of go out on that.
So the band is Evolve Sound. I have a band page on Facebook, SoundCloud, that I should probably spend a little more time on. I have an Instagram page for the band, and I'm on most of the streaming services. I've made some YouTube music videos that are on YouTube. I've put out 2 albums. One is the science fiction concept album, The Sputnik Chronicles, and then the second one is called Beautiful Desolation, which Amy Armstrong did the cover art for.
Oh, I know her too.
Yep, the first song, or the first album, is the science fiction concept album, and then the second album was the 8 other really, really good songs that I have written at various points in my life. And the song that I would like you to end the show on is Tripping into Hell, which is a song that I wrote when I was 17 years old.
Okay.
And it is, in my opinion, the best thing that I've written up to this point.
Okay.
And the things that that it's doing, I really enjoy. And yeah, so that's kind of it in a nutshell. Just Evolve Sound,
okay,
which is a name and kind of like a mission statement for weird rock and roll type stuff. I don't shy away from any of my influences or anything like that. So,
If you enjoyed this program, you should totally follow it online.
Oh, yeah. Now you're talking.
So where are you?
Go to Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Letterboxd, and YouTube.
Cool.
And search for Cinema Milkshake.
Do it. We'll give it a whirl. Why not?
And
Like, follow, share, and leave feedback.
You tell the world.
You certainly don't have to, but it would be a whole lot cooler if you did.
Believe that shit.
Word.
Oh, that's good.
Until next time, don't let the bastards grind you down.
Listen, don't get prancy with me, kiddo.
Keep watching movies.
Dude, that movie was fucking sweet. Ain't bet your fucking ass it was.
And, most importantly, dear listeners,
What's up?
enjoy every milkshake.
I feel like something incredible is really gonna happen here.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
I'm disgusted and repulsed, and I can't look away.
what is this? Some kind of a joke?
Some sort, yes.
Bravo!
You're mocking me, aren't you?
How dare you?
Do you know anything about the art of film production?
Well, I like to think so.
Direction, the acting, the storyline, that shit was bad.
Wow.
That was fucking trippy.
Yeah, boy.
What did you think?
I can't talk about it anymore. It's giving me a headache.
Why don't you knock it off with them negative waves?
That's part of your problem, you know. You haven't seen enough movies. All of life's riddles are answered in the movies.
I had enough. I give up. I want to go home.
Cowards! Confronted with their true selves, most men run away screaming.